Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a cam sensor and magnet on Andy's car along with a set of plugs. If you want to pause this real quick and get these part numbers. To do what we're doing today with cam sensor, the tools that I'm going to use, I got two 3/8 ratchets out here. Obviously you only need one, you could just switch back and forth, but I have it set up so I would use this one for the Torx bit. For the cam magnet itself, it's got a T30 Torx bit. And then I have a 13 millimeter on a longer extension so I can get to the battery hold down bolt, kind of loosen that up and get the battery out. And then I also have an extension on a 13 quarter drive because I'm going to use my drill. I'm just going to break this free, use this to spin it out a little bit. And then I have a quarter drive 8 millimeter that I'm going to use for the two bolts that hold the sensor to the cylinder head. And I don't know if you have a factory battery cables or different cable ends, then don't guarantee it being this size. But the factory battery hold down, or the factory battery cable ends are a 10 millimeter nut. So I got a ratchet or a small ratcheting wrench that I can use, just get in there and kind of loosen those guys up, spin them off real quick. But if you have a small battery, you probably don't have to take the battery out. If you have an aftermarket set of cables or a different battery in a different location, then I guess whatever you got to do to unhook that, if it's in your way, you just got to do it. But these are the tools that we're going to use to get that out. And I'm also going to use a razor blade scraper to clean the surface of the cylinder head where it leaves a little green trace. You guys will see that when we get into the video here. But anyway, we also got NGK 4306s. Did swap the coil, I swapped the plug, I swapped a wire, I disconnected the injector, and everything's still changing. It's just a sporadic misfire at idle. So we think it's something in the valve train. So he's going to seafoam it once I get all this stuff taken care of here, and then see if that'll clear that up, or just drive it and see if it'll clear itself up anyway. But we're still going to do the cam sensor and magnet because it lays over at like 4,000 to 4,500. Right. It kind of just starts breaking up and stays out of it. But so we're going to get all that swapped over today. It is a common issue on these cars, so I figured I'd kind of shoot a little how-to video to show everybody how that's done, and then we're going to go ahead and get going. So for the battery, you need a 13 millimeter. There is a bolt in the back down here that you need that for. So I'm using a 13 with an extension, and then if you got the stock cable still, then it's a 10 millimeter. I don't know if the nuts or anything might have been changed, so all that stuff may be different for your car, so don't guarantee it. So fortunately for me, Andy has the OEM intake, and it's easy to work with because I can get to the cam sensor without really taking anything off. Those bolts are 8 millimeters. And then you want to unhook the sensor. So you just, depends on how your vacuum lines and everything are hooked. Stop lines, you can move them out of the way a little bit. Pull the lock tab. Disengage it, pull it off. And the bolt for the target magnet is a T30 Torx bit. If you look at the back of the sensor, there are two tabs that are offset, so you don't want to damage it putting it back in if you put it in this way. Definitely crack it or dick the threads up on the bolt. Something stupid, so definitely don't do that. And then what I do when I put them back in is I do a little bit of red thread locker. This thing has a ton of threads. You don't get super tight with it, but you don't want it to back off. Start by just lining line the bolt up, start threading it in. Then spin your cam magnet into place. The torque spec on that bolt is actually 30 inch-pounds. I've done several of these things, so I got a pretty good feel for it. I've never had one fail yet doing it this way anyway. The reason I didn't use a torque wrench is because I don't actually have one that goes down to that low of a torque value. The smallest one I have goes to 60 inch-pounds, which is still twice as much as I actually need. I just do it by feel. You know, I've been doing this for quite a while. But if you've never done one, they are easy to crack and damage the magnet. I would highly recommend you at least go to Harbor Freight, buy the torque wrench that they have. I think a 1/4 inch one that goes down to that low of a torque value. I don't know if they have a 3/8. Now that we've got the magnet in, what I'm going to do is use a razor blade, clean the surface off because there is a little green ring. I'll show you guys that you should be able to see it, I hope. But there's a green ring that the O-ring leaves behind, and you just want to clean that off. This is a machine surface. You don't have to worry about it leaking past this gasket because it should be sealed ideally. But We're gonna get that all wiped off, get that green ring cleaned up as much as we can, get this guy back together. So you got your surface cleaned up, and then you just take this O-ring, and there's a groove in the sensor. You just kind of pop the O-ring in, walk it around, make sure you're seated all the way. And then I take a bolt, put it to the bottom hole of the sensor. It's the easiest one to get to when you have the water line and everything still hooked up. Just be careful, you don't want to drag the O-ring across something, pop it out of place, or damage it. So I only tighten the first one until it starts to grab the sensor and seat it like that. And then you just kind of snug them down good. Torque spec on these is only like 80 inch-pounds, but it don't take a whole lot. Plug this guy back in. Be careful, you don't want to pull against the wires or anything, damage them. Get it locked in. And then if you got the stock battery, you just slip the cover back in. Plug the sensor in while it's there. It's easier to work with while it's here. Drop the battery in. Maybe. There we go. And then if you wanted to, you can hook the power wire up and kind of hold them up out of the way. Just make sure that you tuck the ground wire off to the side. That's it, guys. And then Andy's, the battery's kind of not the best on this car, so I gotta jump it to start it. But give it a second here. Bring all this stuff over. We're gonna do the plugs first, actually. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the plugs on Andy's car. So you're not going to see me drive it or fire it up until I'm done with all that stuff if you watch the next video. So hopefully this video helped you guys out if you ever had an issue with the car breaking up, getting that cam sensor swapped out and the magnet. And you guys have yourself a good one. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you at the track. Thanks.